In this video, we're going to take a look at when you might want to use the Singleton design pattern and also how you can go about implementing it. So the Singleton design pattern is used when we want to ensure only one instance of our class is ever created and used within our application. So typically there are three key drivers for the Singleton design pattern. So first, we want to control the access to a shared resource. And the keyword here is a shared resource. So for example, in this video, we're going to take a look at a bookstore that has a single logging system. So when customers come to take a book, that transaction will be recorded within a single logging resource. And when they go to return a book, that same action will be recorded within the same log. And every single time a customer does this, it always goes into that same log. So the second driver behind the Singleton design pattern is that this shared resource, so in our example, the log, will be accessed from multiple parts of the same system. So within our bookstore, we could have different departments. Let's say we have a department for science books, one for geography books, and one for fiction and non-fiction books. All these different departments of our bookstore are all using the same shared resource, which is our logging system, and therefore our logging system is being accessed from multiple parts of the system. The final driver behind the Singleton design pattern is that we only ever want one instance of our object. So if we had multiple logging systems, so let's say we had it across the different departments, when a customer comes to take a book, it might be recorded in one logging system, and then when they go to return the book, it might be recorded in another logging system. So therefore, if we were to look at the entire report, it could have missing information, and therefore multiple instances of our logging object could be destructive to the system as a whole. So if we take a look at our example, we have this books log class where we have a list of strings which represents the log, and when we create our books log through the public constructor, we will instantiate that log as a new instance of the array list. Now every time we want to take a book, we pass in the title and the customer ID, and within our log we will be adding either the word withdraw followed by the title, the customer ID and the time, or if we're returning a book, we will then do the same with the return word. There's also a method down at the bottom where we can just print out the log that we have for our store. Now if we go into the bookstore class itself, we have an instance of our books log being created, and we're going to take out the book 1 with the customer ID of 123. We then create a new instance of our books log, and then we want to return the book of book 1 for customer 123. And then at the end, we're going to print out the log for the first instance of the books log that we create. And what we can see in the console below is that only one line is being recorded back from our log, which is the withdrawal of book 1 by customer 123. So this is breaking the Singleton design pattern because we have a shared resource, which is our log, being accessed by multiple parts of the system. So in our example, we have two different parts where the log is being accessed from, but we have two instances of the log being created. Therefore, all the information is not being reported back when we want to print the log, because this extra line of returning the book is not being printed down below. So to fix this problem, we're going to implement the Singleton design pattern on our books log class. So the first step involves making our constructor private, and this means our books log class cannot be created by any class outside of itself. The second step involves creating the static instance of the books log that will then be returned every time we want to access the books log class. So it's private static books log, and we're going to call it instance, and it's going to be a new instance of the books log. So how do we access this instance of books log from outside this class, and we're going to create a public static method that returns the books log. We're going to call it getInstance, and it's going to return the instance that we have up above. Now we can see we have two related problems with our private constructor. So if we go back to the bookstore, it's because we're trying to create a new instance of the books log. But instead we just want to replace this with bookslog.getInstance, and that will return that static instance. And then once again, bookslog.getInstance. So what's now going to happen is that rather than creating a new instance of the books log, the only way we can access the instance of this class is through this public static method. And this public static method of getInstance will always return this single instance of the books log, and because it is static, it will always be the same across all instances of the books log class. So as a result, this log.takebook will record to the same instance of the books log as this log2.returnBook. So this shared resource of the log, which is being accessed by multiple parts of the system, so in our case just two different parts, will be impacting the exact same instance of the class. So when we print out the log, we can expect the takebook and returnBook methods to both be included within that list. Now if I change this reference of books log from log to log2, we can run the application once more, and we can expect the exact same output to be returned into the console. And that summarizes this video on how you can implement the Singleton design pattern in 3 simple steps, and the 3 key drivers behind when you would want to use the Singleton design pattern.